Hey guys, what's going on? Mike the Caveman Q here again from Paleo Prime Long Island, MikeTheCaveman.com. And today's question is, should you be concerned about nitrates? I'm the caveman! And the answer is, kind of, but not likely in the way you're thinking of. So, when most people hear about nitrates and them being problematic, it is in relation to the development of cancer, particularly colon cancer. The reason being, well, processed red meats are the best known source of nitrates. Now, what would be amazing to find out is that roughly 93% of dietary intake of nitrates come from fruits and vegetables. What? That's right. So, let's go on a little chemical journey. I know. When we're talking about nitrates, we're talking specifically about a nitrogen and 3 oxygens, or NO3-. Nitrates themselves are pretty inert and don't really cause much damage, but they in turn get converted by either enzymes or bacteria into nitrites. Now, nitrites are NO2-, meaning they have 1 nitrogen and 2 oxygens. From there, though, is where things start to get interesting, as nitrites can get converted either into nitric oxide or nitrosamines. Now, nitrosamines are what we think of when we think of the carcinogenic potential of nitrates. Now, this is where things get a little bit squirrely, because nitric oxide is generally a good thing. Many bodybuilders take it as a pre-workout. The reason being, it has roles in regulating both blood vessels and the muscles around those blood vessels, so it helps to improve circulation. In fact, somebody elderly around you might be taking nitroglycerin. That is a form of nitric oxide. But on the other side, on that dark side, we have nitrosamines. So we have nitrous amines. What does that mean? Well, we have that nitrogen, which then gets blended with an amino acid, an amine, a derivative of protein. So we take that nitrate, we add it to a meat to help preserve it because it has antibacterial properties, makes it last longer, and under high heat conditions, that can go and form a nitrosamine. So clearly, that's the problem, right? Not exactly. The operative word before that is that it is under high heat conditions. So don't go and char your processed meats. In fact, unless we're talking about quality sources of those bacons, of those hot dogs, then yeah, you probably shouldn't be eating them. If we're talking about conventionally raised stuff, then yeah, it can be a problem. But you really shouldn't cook anything at high heat. So, if you're avoiding conventionally raised meats and you're not heating them up to super high temperatures, yeah, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. Now, that gets us to the other end of the nitrates. Because what do people normally do? They go for nitrate-free bacon and hot dogs and everything, right? The problem is more often than not, those nitrate-free versions end up adding celery powder. What do we say is the largest dietary source of nitrate intake? Well, it would in fact be vegetables. Celery, and actually beets even more so, are a huge source of nitrates. As such, that celery powder isn't really that much better from a biochemical standpoint in terms of producing those carcinogenic nitrosamines. So even in that case, you probably shouldn't be charbroiling them. But they do have one advantage, and this is a big one. When we're talking about those conventionally raised, cheap processed meats, generally they're going to be using synthetic nitrates, meaning they were made in the lab. The problem with that is that there is an acceptable, allowable amount of residual heavy metals, and heavy metals can be incredibly toxic. And most problematically is that the levels that are acceptable to be found in those synthetic nitrates are above the levels that are seen to cause toxicity in humans. In fact, hundreds of times beyond that. So, even more of a reason not to go with conventionally raised, cheap, processed meats. So, your biggest takeaways are that, no, you shouldn't really be worried about nitrates in and of themselves. What you should be worried about is cheap, processed meats. Now, that comes with the caveat that the operative word there is the cheap, processed stuff. If we're talking about quality, pasture-raised bacon, hot dogs, and such, then it won't be a problem as much. Try your best to choose brands that have no nitrates and no celery powder, particularly if you think you'll be cooking at a high temperature. But better off, don't cook at a high temperature. I understand barbecue is delicious, But if you're really concerned about the production of nitrosamines, it's going to happen. So, that's your biggest takeaway. Don't cook at high temperatures. Choose quality foods. I kind of talk about all the time. Alright, well, hopefully that helped you out, guys. You know what to do. Like and subscribe down below. Share it with your friends. Head over to Instagram and Twitter and follow me at Mike the Caveman. Over on Facebook at Paleo Prime Long Island. And of course, over at MikeTheCaveman.com. That being said, have a wonderful rest of your day. Go have some quality bacon, maybe from Tendergrass Farms. It's pretty delicious. And I'll see you tomorrow. Most specifically, we're looking at reductions in stress, reductions in pain, improvements in